other news, ex-terrorist negotiator Tukur Mamu arraigned on a 10-count charge for terrorism financing. Goods worth millions destroyed as fire guts Onitsha market. And Labour Party's Peter Obi files petition challenging Tinubu's victory, demands fresh election. Many thanks for joining us on News Now at this hour. I am Sinisola Ajigun. The publisher of Desert Herald and former terrorist negotiator Tukur Mamu has been arraigned on a 10-count charge bordering on alleged terrorism financing. Mamu was arraigned on Tuesday by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation before a Federal High Court in Abuja. Mamu is alleged to have received $120,000 as ransom payment on behalf of the Boko Haram terrorist group. The monies were said to have been received from families of hostages kidnapped during the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. He was also accused of exchanging voice note communications relating to the hostages of one Baba Adamu, a Boko Haram spokesperson. The accused has, however, pleaded not guilty to all the counts and denied having allegiance to the terrorists. However, after taking arguments for and against a bail request, Justice Eyang Eko reserved ruling till a date that will be communicated to the parties, an order that Mamu remains in the custody of the Department of State Services (DSS) pending the ruling on the bail application. Tragedy has struck in the Onitsha area of Anambra State following the outbreak of a fire at the White House section of the main market. The fire started in the early hours of Tuesday in the popular market situated in the Onitsha local government area of the state, leading to the loss of several goods worth millions of naira. According to some traders who raised the alarm over the fire, the area mostly affected by the fire is the block of shops under the White House where expensive lace materials are sold. Onitsha main market, famed to be the biggest market in West Africa, hosts a large population of traders who are mainly importers of goods and who also deal in varied products. To electoral matters now, the Labour Party and its presidential candidate Peter Obi have formally filed a petition at the Election Petition Tribunal in Abuja challenging the declaration of Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress (APC) as the winner of the February 25, 2023 presidential election. The petition has the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Tinubu, his running mate Senator Kashim Shettima, and the APC as the first to fourth respondents. The petitioners specifically alleged that at the time of the election, Tinubu was not qualified to contest and argued that the election was invalid by reason of corrupt practices and non-compliance with the provision of the Electoral Act of 2022. Obi prayed the tribunal to make an order cancelling the election and compelling INEC to conduct a fresh election in which Tinubu, Shettima and the APC will not participate. The Lagos State People's Democratic Party governorship candidate Olajide Adediran, popularly called Jandor, has described the outcome of Saturday's governorship election in the state as shocking and not a reflection of the people of the party's worth. Reacting to the outcome of the polls at a news conference, Adediran vowed to pursue the process to the end before letting out his next step of action. Highlighting some flaws in the process, Adediran said that the Saturday's election became like a war, adding that majority of PDP agents and those of other opposition political parties were chased away from collation centers.
I appreciate the people of Lagos for standing firm in the face of oppression and for believing in whatever it is they believe in. We saw everything played out. But in our own case, we want to say that we looked at ourselves and we feel so proud. We feel so proud in the sense that in the face of huge oppression, when we started this project, some people have said, oh, he's deceiving himself. By the time they offer him something now, we will collapse it. We got in between. Somebody, oh, he's a mole in PDP. Somebody sent him to come and do this. It got to a point they were saying all sorts. Even when some respected leaders supposedly had to leave us for crumbs within the ruling party, we stayed behind to say we're going to see this to the last. Of course, everybody in Lagos saw what happened, knew what happened on the street of Lagos. There were voter suppression everywhere, intimidation, harassment, violence. Some people were killed, a lot of people were harmed. And the process of them trying to express or exercise their franchise. For us, we know that the election is already predetermined because before election activities that was happening, we try everything to ensure that we bring this to the notice of the security formations in Lagos. Our condolences to families of those who lost their lives in that election because they wanted a better Lagos, because they really want to exercise their franchise. And for those who sustain injury everywhere, we sympathize with them.
Following allegations of non-usage of the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS, gross irregularities and intimidation of voters in some parts of Enugu State, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has suspended the collation of results for the governorship election in the state. A breakdown of results collated on Sunday show that Peter Mba of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) is leading in the race, having won 9 out of the 17 local government areas in the state. He is closely followed by the candidate of the Labour Party, Chijioke Edeoga, who has won 8 of the local government areas announced. In a statement, INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman of the Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said that the decision to suspend the collation was taken after a review of the election and appealed for the understanding and patience of voters, parties and candidates in the affected states. The Chief Whip of the Senate, Orji Kalu, has said it is his turn to be President of the Senate in the 10th National Assembly. Speaking to journalists at the National Assembly, the lawmaker representing Abia North Senatorial District asked his party, that's the All Progressives Congress (APC), to zone the seat to his district. Our correspondent, Mary Kanu, tells us more in this next report.
On the 7th of March 2023, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) issued certificates of return to winners of the February 25, 2023 senatorial election. The chairman of INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, presented the certificates to the senators-elect at the National Collation Center in Abuja. Of the 423 legislative seats declared, 109 are Senate seats, and ahead of the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly in June, the jostling and intrigues for principal officers, particularly the position of Senate President in the upper chamber, has begun. One of those vying for the position of Senate President and seeking to take over from Senate President Ahmed Lawan is Orji Uzor Kalu, who has publicly declared his intention to contest for Senate presidency.
President Tinubu needs people of high character to turn around this economy, to make sure that we work for the masses and make laws that will enable him to turn around the economy. Nigerian people will pray for me to be Senate President because it is my turn.
The former two-term governor of Abia State, who won re-election to represent Abia North in the Red Chamber, has asked his party, the All Progressives Congress, to zone the seat to his district.
I'm ready to run for Senate President if the party zone it to my zone, because the party is supreme. Whether they want to zone it, they should zone it to my village, so nobody will contest it against me. I don't even want them to zone it to the south. The party should zone it to Ibere in my ward. So, because I'm the only senator from there, you can manufacture another senator from another local government or from another place in Abia. So, I would like the party to zone it to me with my name.
The All Progressives Congress, with a majority in the Senate, has not officially zoned the seat of the leadership positions of the National Assembly for the 10th Assembly, but according to Kalu, with his position as the Chief Whip of the 9th Senate, he is the most ranking senator from the Southeast and therefore deserves the position. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria.
The deputy governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Lagos State, Abiodun Oyefusi, has called for the cancellation of the 2023 governorship and State House of Assembly elections, saying that it was not free, fair and credible. Speaking at a press conference held in Lagos, the deputy governor of the Labour Party has vowed to challenge the results of Saturday's election announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. However, the Labour Party chairman, Dayo Ekong, condemned the violent act of thuggery, attacks and brutal killings during the polls, which resulted in voter apathy and low turnout of voters during the election.
A lot of areas, local governments, the election did not take place. The election did not take place because the hoodlums were waiting. In some polling units, we had 50 to 100 hoodlums. And this resulted in voters' apathy. People went back home. People refused to come out in fear of their dear lives. How desperate can we be? Nobody deserves to die. I repeat, nobody deserves to die. According to your Electoral Act of 128, 62, 65, decided to throw a blind eye to this, and they went ahead. We of Labour Party, we reject whatever results that was announced, and we are now asking and demanding for a total cancellation.
All these people covered under the Electorate Act, where were they? What were they doing? How are they protecting innocent people? This is the question we should be asking ourselves. How did we degenerate to this level where people no longer have freedom for anything?
Or people's life does not matter.
And people's life does not matter. So that is the big question. And for us as Labour Party, the election on the 18th of March, there was no election.
The Speaker, Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament, Sidi Tunis, has deplored the low representation of Nigerian women in the legislature, saying he plans to engage the country's leadership on this. Tunis said this during an interactive session at the two-day symposium on women's proportional representation in politics, organized by the ECOWAS Female Parliamentarians Association, ECOFEPA, in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Tunis said the community parliament has a whole year program, and the symposium in Sierra Leone is just the beginning of many to follow to popularize the idea of 30% affirmative action for women.
This is just the beginning. Last year, I had a conversation with the ECOWAS Commission, and we were able to secure funding just for ECOFEPA. I've been able to encourage them to give me programs, and the seminar in Freetown, the ECOFEPA seminar in Freetown, is just the beginning for this year. Immediately after this seminar, we are having a town hall meeting in Abuja, I'm sure end of April, early May, but it has to happen before the session. This is all, we are doing all of this because we want to popularize the whole idea of the affirmation action, the 30% quota for women. Nigeria is key in all of this because in the ECOWAS Parliament we are suffering. Out of 35 representatives from Nigeria, we only have 2 women, which is really, really, really not good. I'm hoping to engage the next speaker in Nigerian National Assembly and the President of the Senate to encourage them to have more women.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, CBN raises interest rate to 80%, retains other parameters. We'll bring you details of the story after this break.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Let's take a recap of our top stories tonight. The publisher of Desert Herald and a former terrorist negotiator, Tukur Mamu, has been arraigned on a 10-count charge bordering on alleged terrorism financing. Mamu was arraigned on Tuesday by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation before a federal high court in Abuja. Taking arguments for and against the bail request, Justice Ian Ekwo reserved ruling till the day that will be communicated to the parties and ordered that Mamu remains in the custody of the Department of State Services (DSS) pending the ruling on the bail application. We also told you that tragedy struck in the Onitsha area of Anambra following the outbreak of a fire at the White House section of the main market. The fire started in the early hours of Tuesday in the popular market situated in the Onitsha local government area of the state, leading to the loss of several goods worth millions of naira. According to some traders who raised the alarm over the fire, the area mostly affected by the fire is the block of shops under the White House where expensive lace materials are sold. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limelight Sports TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. U.S. President Joe Biden has signed a bipartisan bill that directs the federal government to declassify as much intelligence as possible about the origins of COVID-19, more than 3 years after the start of the pandemic. The legislation, which passed both the House and Senate without dissent, directs the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to declassify intelligence related to China's Wuhan Institute of Virology. U.S. intelligence agencies are divided on whether a lab leak or a spillover from animals is the likely source of the deadly virus. Experts say the true origin of the coronavirus pandemic, which has killed more than 1.1 million in the U.S. and millions more around the globe, may not be known for many years. Ahead of the third anniversary of the national lockdown, India is witnessing a steady surge of fresh COVID infections. The Health Ministry in a statement said in the last days, the number of cases has doubled. It also added that 918 new COVID-19 cases were registered across India in the last 24 hours, while 4 people have died due to COVID-related complications. We'll take another break and return with business, international and sports stories. Stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We are only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey.
Which came out with this one? I don't understand. You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Folashade Ogorinde joins us now with updates in business. Over to you now, Folashade.
Well, many thanks, Simi. And in business, the Policy Setting Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate, MPR, which measures interest rate, from 17.5% to 18%. Governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, announced the development to journalists on Tuesday after the committee's meeting at the CBN headquarters in Abuja. Emefiele said the committee members voted to hike the rate by 50 basis points to 18%, adding that although inflation has remained on the increase, the previous tightening measure has continued to reduce the rate of price increase.
Committee, however, noted that the Naira redesign and cash withdrawal limit policies have resulted in a sizable reduction in currency outside the banks, indicating expected improvement in the potency of monetary policy tools. Members, however, remained aware of the ongoing challenges associated with the limits imposed on cash withdrawals in the face of frequent downtime in bank electronic transaction channels. Committee thus called on the other depository corporations, online payment platforms, and other stakeholders to ensure that the prevailing incidence of network failures is overcome in the immediate and short term. This would ensure that the Naira redesign and cash withdrawal policies lead to an improved inroad of the CBN cashless policy program and efficiency of the transmission mechanism of monetary policy. Members thus resolved by a majority vote to raise the monetary policy rate MPR by 50 basis points. In summary, 10 members voted to raise MPR by 50 basis points, 1 member voted to raise MPR by 25 basis points, and 1 member voted to hold the MPR. All members voted to keep all other parameters constant.
Joining me now to speak on this development is Frank Osubwe, alumnus of the United Nations African Institute for Economic Development and Planning. It's good to have you join me. The CBN governor has said raising the MPR to 18% was a unanimous decision by committee members and is expected to curtail inflation. Now, how do you feel about this decision? Do you think indeed that the hike in interest rates can indeed decelerate interest inflation?
Thank you very much. Concerning the decision, well, generally across the world, many or a number of central banks have been increasing interest rates. The aim is to tighten the inflation or control the inflation or keep the rate as low as possible. If it's well managed within the plan, I think it will have positive effects on the Nigerian economy. So the onus lies on the CBN to make sure that the increase and then the expected returns are achieved. After increasing the interest rates, there is need to also monitor the implementation, monitor the prices of commodities to ensure that we don't have continued increase. Although the inflation rate or the interest rate as at January was 17.5% and there's a little increase to 18%. However, inflation has remained on. There's been increasing prices, and as such, we're not too sure what the outcome will be. If it's not well implemented, if it's not well managed, the benefits we are likely to lose, and it might lead to worsening economic conditions and continued inflation.
Well, it's definitely a wait-and-see situation, but Frank Osubwe, alumnus of the United Nations African Institute for Economic Development and Planning, thank you very much for your time and your contribution. We'll take a breather now and be back with more insights on the stock market. Just stay with us. The bears were dominant on the Nigerian Stock Exchange's market performance ended in the greens at 0.03%. Now we see that market capitalization rests just at a 29.92 trillion basis mark. Now in the aggregate, 107 NGX listed equities participated in trading, ending with 12 gainers and 12 losers. Linkage Assurance led the gainers with 9.76% share price appreciation, closing at 45 kobo per share, followed by Wapik Insurance. Now on the losing side, Ikeja Hotel came out last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 9.65% at 1 naira 3 kobo per share, followed by Cadbury Nigeria. Now at the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we see that a total of 127 million volume of shares valued at 1.586 billion naira exchange hands in 2,987 deals. Now away from the NGX, let's see how some of our select global stock performed. UK's FTSE rallied up to 1.72% as calm returns to the markets following the takeover of Credit Suisse. That should be the biggest one-day rise since 21st December last year and lifts the index to its highest since last Wednesday when fears over the crisis of Credit Suisse rocked global markets. While US Dow Jones equally had a good trading day, Asian stock Nikkei ended in the reds at 1.42%. I need to wrap on business news and stock market review. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Falashade, for that update. And in international stories, police in Kenya have arrested 238 people during Monday's violent protest over the cost of living, which also saw 31 police officers injured. Protesters had joined demonstrations in Nairobi and other parts of Kenya on Monday in response to a call by veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga. It was the first major unrest since President William Ruto took office in September last year, narrowly beating Odinga in an election his rival claims was stolen. Odinga is blaming the government for the economic woes faced by Kenyans who are battling high prices for food and fuel, a plunging currency, and a record drought that has left millions hungry. In sports, Kylian Mbappe is set to take over as captain of France after Hugo Lloris stepped down following the World Cup final defeat to Argentina. The 24-year-old has accepted the role after discussions with coach Didier Deschamps. Mbappe's first game as captain will be Friday's Euro 2024 qualifier against the Netherlands at the Stade de France, the first match for Les Bleus since the World Cup final in Doha on December 18. Mbappe has scored 19 goals in 24 League One matches this season and contributed 7 goals in PSG's run to the last 16 of the Champions League, where they were knocked out by Bayern Munich. That's all on our bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Simisola Ajikun. Bye for now.